Oh, thank you, Carolyn. I'm sorry. It's early in the morning and I'm a bit tired, but I'm here. Thank you. So let me just start over. Thank you for joining me. Good morning. If you are joining me, it's Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics Unfiltered. Now, tonight, I want to talk about the housing assessment, the 2021 housing assessment by Westchester County. I want to say, I hope you had a great weekend. Some of you, many of you had a 4-day weekend. Thanksgiving holiday. Hope you celebrated with family, loved ones. It was peaceful, and you had a lot of turkey. But going back to the what I like to talk about here and what I was mentioning before, I realized I was not on. I want to focus on some of the data from the housing assessment that was done by Westchester County. I will focus, mostly on Yonkers, but I will discuss and provide data for the entire county. As I was mentioning, most of the talk is the developments on the waterfront. The market rate luxury developments that are going up, they seem to be getting the most attention, even from those elected officials who say that they are most concerned with the long-term residents or long-time residents of Yonkers, and specifically those who are looking or are in need of more housing, affordable housing, housing that they can actually afford. And I'm going to mention Tasha Diaz, Councilwoman Tasha Diaz here a little bit. Also, I do want to discuss because she has played a major role in what's been going on with the developments and affordable housing and low-income housing. As just to recap, a few weeks ago, maybe about a month or so ago, actually, the affordable housing ordinance meeting where the city council voted pretty much no to veto the mayor's to override the mayor's veto on the new housing ordinance that would have increased it from 10% to 20%. The surprising turn of events that night was that Councilwoman Tasha Diaz, who had championed for the new affordable housing since day one. She was one of the original three, as some of you know. Shanae Williams and City Council President Mike Cater were the other two, who were the original three that championed for it. At the last minute, at the last hour, when it was time to show where she actually stood on the ordinance, she voted no, not to override the mayor's veto, going against what she said she wanted, said she was doing for the people, or her constituents and the people of Yonkers. That was a big surprise. She seemed to be confused. She confused a lot of us. I was confused. I actually walked out with the councilwoman that night. We walked out of City Hall. I talked to her about it. She seemed visibly upset. So I really believe that she was doing the right thing until I kind of gathered everything and realized, wait a minute, she pulled the fast one. She pulled the fast one on us, you know. And so as I started to realize that and started to think about it, I started to wonder why. Why did she all of a sudden change her vote? Why did she lie and say that, to me anyway, that she didn't vote no, that she wanted the new ordinance to pass? But after reviewing the video from the meeting and seeing the show that she put on that night, it seemed like it was just all about confusing people. She threw in some low income housing stuff with affordable housing stuff. So I wanted to kind of also um, kind of talk a little bit about the differences, right? Because there is a difference in low income housing and affordable housing. So I want to just give a quick little put up a little thing here from New York City's, actually from a New York City website, and it just gives a little breakdown of the difference between affordable housing and low income housing. Affordable housing has income and credit requirements and is for various income ranges. Applicants are picked through a lottery system. When an applicant is chosen through the lottery, they have made it to the next step of the process and have to go through an interview to submit required documents. Being picked for an interview does not guarantee an apartment. Now, affordable housing lotteries are newly constructed. I guess this is lotteries maybe for New York City, and maybe not all the way, but um, low income housing, I want to talk about that, is basically for those who make under a certain amount of money and also qualify for government assistance programs such as Section 8. So Tasha Diaz, what she said was that she was not happy with the way the ordinance was, and that it did not include a large segment of the population here in Yonkers, which consisted of her constituents, a large segment of her constituents. But what I didn't understand was that she should have known that, right? Did she just read the ordinance that night and realize this? Has she not gone through it prior? All the other times she voted yes, did she not realize what she was voting for? Now, do we need more low income housing versus more affordable housing? Well, according to Westchester County, we need more affordable housing. And I just want to go through some of the low income affordable housing apartments that are actually available. And if you are someone who's looking for an apartment, looking for to one of the affordable housing apartments that we have here in the city of Yonkers, you can actually go to this website. They have a list of all the apartments in the city of Yonkers that are affordable housing or qualify, for those who qualify for low income housing. Dorado Apartments, that's over on Warburton 160, right there in the corner of Ashburton and Warburton. Schoolhouse Terrace at the Ridgeway, 43 Ash. This is a list of some of them that you have here. John E. Flynn Manor on Riverdale, James E. Hall Homes, The Hollows, Finian Sullivan Towers. It's another apartment building. If you click on it there, they will show you the available apartments, or if there's a waiting list, if it's open, if it's not open, if they're accepting applications, what kind of apartments, meaning studios, one bedrooms. Whitney Young Manor, Warburton Riverview. You have Palisade Towers, Williams, Walsh Homes, Monastery Manor, Francis Reagan Townhomes, Dr. James O'Rourke Townhomes, Chris Christensen Homes, and Grant Park 1 and 2, Seton Manor, Ben Franklin. These are some just apartments that you will find if you go on this website, and I'll put up the website in a little bit. If you're looking for low income homes that, or apartments that accept vouchers and programs, Section 8, or affordable apartments, you can go on this website and there's a list. There's a lot of them. But a lot of them are mostly for low income. So, and the point I'm trying to make is that Tasha Diaz's argument was that the affordable housing ordinance did not include people who needed Section 8 vouchers or other government assistance programs. And she felt that they needed to rehab or renovate the housing stock that that already exists here in the city of Yonkers, and they need to up the vouchers, give more money in the vouchers, and some other things. And I agree with it. And I'm not saying that she doesn't have a point, possibly. However, the point of this was affordable housing. Affordable housing. These are for individuals who make a certain amount of money a year. They have an income that's 50 to 100,000, maybe a little bit over. And I'll show that in a minute. What income ranges qualify you for affordable housing, and they don't qualify necessarily for a government assistance vouchers. So they're like stuck in this middle. They don't get the assistance from the government in terms of vouchers or any financial support, but they don't make enough to pay $3,000 and $4,000 a month for an apartment. Right? It's kind of like when I was going to college and they said, "Hey, your mom makes too much to get any financial aid, so you have to take out loans." But my mother could not afford to pay, $10,000, $11,000 a year for a college. So, this is what we have to focus on, because there's a large segment of the population now that are working, that have jobs, that are getting paid decent money. I mean, you would think, $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 even is good money. Six figures if you're $100,000, right? Six-figure club. But not anymore. Not anymore. And as these developments come into the area, we're only going to see all rents go up, whether they're for the affordable housing apartments or the low income or market rate. They're all going to go up. There are more people coming in to the city with higher incomes, more disposable incomes. It's only a natural progression. It's the basic laws of economics. So as you see this influx of people from the city, you're going to see rents go up. You're going to see the cost of goods go up. You're going to see a lot of traffic, high density. You're gonna see a lot of our utilities, a lot of our services being, police services, fire services, ambulance being strained because you're getting this influx of people coming from the city, increasing the population. We're now the third largest city, right? Maybe soon we'll be the second. So I want to just kind of uh, begin with the housing assessment, kind of start from the intro of the housing assessment. And it's very important. And I think that, people should go and read the entire report. It's very important and it's shocking. It really is shocking to me. Um, Affordable housing is a major contributing factor to a balanced and well-functioning uh, community. I'm sorry, a county. It in turn it's communities and neighborhoods. I'm sorry, I got to take my picture out of there. Uh, to that end, Westchester County undertook an affordable housing needs assessment to establish a database foundation for the creation, right, of preservation of affordable housing in Westchester County. This assessment is not I can't see that there, I'm sorry, housing allocation plan. It does not assign any number of units to specific municipalities. The assessment looks at the county's history of housing policies, lays out the methodology for data analysis, provides findings on a wide variety of demographics, housing stock, and housing affordability issues, and provides recommendations, including best practices from across the country to help the county move forward in addressing its affordable housing needs. This assessment used a standard statistical approach viewing Westchester County as a whole and with a separate look at the municipalities. Additional research and analysis was conducted through plans and reports, but also through interviews with stakeholders and several public forums. The need for affordable housing in Westchester cannot be easily drilled down to one number or one need. Affordable housing is incredibly complex and dynamic. Absolutely. It is a reflection of the entire, I'm sorry, I got to get that stuff out of there. Well, yes, it is definitely a complex situation. It's not that simple. It's not just easy as increasing the affordable housing ordinance. I mean, I agree that it needs to be brought up. However, that is not the only means of doing it. And as you will see here in the report, it talks about various ways that we can do that. One of them is the ordinance. And I'll get to that in a second here. The 30 to 44 age cohort shows decline, which may mean there aren't enough affordable housing options for young families. These are some of the findings. More people commute into Westchester to work than those who live and work in the county. The majority of commuters, 58%, drive alone to work. The village towns of Scarsdale and the village of Larchmont have the highest owner household incomes at over $250,000. Well, they need to. They pay a lot of taxes there. While the city of Peekskill has the lowest owner household income at 87,000. And 87,000, I mean, it used to be a lot. You would think that was a lot of money. Times are changing. The village town Scarsdale has the highest renter household income at 207,000. Of course, even if you want to rent in Scarsdale, you better be making some bucks. And again, city of Peekskill has the lowest income among renters at 36,000, a little bit over. The gap in rental affordability is significant as home purchasing. There is no municipality where the market rate rent for a 2-bedroom unit is affordable to households earning the local hourly renter wage. Did you hear that? I'll read it again. There is no municipality where the market rate rent for a 2-bedroom unit is affordable to households earning the local hourly renter wage. The greatest monthly gap at $1,823 is in the village of Pleasantville. And what that means is that there's that gap from the person who's making the local hourly wage to what it would cost them to rent a 2-bedroom apartment in the town of Pleasantville. They're short. They're coming up short each month by $1,823. so they can't afford it. And so there are only 3 municipalities where the HUD FMR is affordable to household, earning the local hourly renter wage: the town of Newcastle and the villages of Bronxville and Pelham Manor. So if you want to get a job, that's earning, that's paying a minimum wage, and you want to be able to afford a 2-bedroom, you're going to have to move to Newcastle, Bronxville, or Pelham, apparently. The Housing Action Council found that 6.8% of the households seeking housing under the housing settlement were already living in Westchester. There were 9,260 applicants for 395 affordable rental units in development. Wow. 9,000 applicants for 395 affordable rental units. Did you hear that, Councilwoman Diaz? We needed that increase. I mean, it's not going to solve the problem, but it's part of the solution. The combined population of persons with disabilities in the city of Peekskill, Yonkers, and Mount Vernon account for 42% of the county's population with disabilities. Wow. So almost half of the population in the county, people with disabilities, live in Peekskill, Yonkers, and Mount Vernon. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. So again, did you hear that, Councilwoman Tasha Diaz? We need more affordable housing. We need more affordable housing. Let me just take off my guy here so I can see what I'm reading. My apologies. So anyway, this is the Westchester AMI. It talks a little bit about that and what it is for a household of 4. And I'll start from the top. In this report, the 3 major, and this is part of the housing assessment. In this report, the 3 major components of the data analysis: housing cost burden, housing conditions, and a projection of current housing need, are provided at the county level and for each municipality. The finding that 50.7% of all owner households earning between 30% and 50% of the county area's AMI, or area medium income, are severely cost burdened should not be a surprise. So what they're saying there is that they found that slightly over half of all owner households earning between 30 and 50% of the county area median income are severely cost burdened, meaning they're struggling to pay their mortgage. This is for homeowners. Homeowners are struggling to pay their mortgage. It's getting bad. But the conclusion that 22.9% of households earning between 80% and 100% of the AMI might be, when one considers that a family of 4 at 100% of AMI earns approximately $117,000 in Westchester County. I'm sorry, I'll read that again. The finding that 50.7% of all owner households earning between 30% and 50% of the county area's median income are severely cost burdened should not be a surprise, but the conclusion that 22.9% of the households earning between 80 and 100% of the AMI might be. So what they're saying is that those who are making 30 to 50% of the AMI, the Westchester County AMIs, are living in homes or houses that they cannot afford, and that it should not surprise us. But what we should be surprised is that those who are making between 80 and 100% of the Westchester AMI are still not able to afford the home that they're living in. And the Westchester AMI for a family of 4, 100%, is $117,100. $117,100. Wow. Well, that's for a family of 4. So divide that by 4. It's getting rough. Similarly, the assessment concludes that 2000. Let me just read this last part. It is important to note that these households have housing, but they cannot comfortably afford it. Okay, so they do have a house. They have somewhere to live. Thank God, but they cannot comfortably afford it. And as the economy worsens, as the cost of goods continues to rise, the cost of living continues to rise. It is only a matter of time before these cost-burdened families will be homeless. It's a sad reality. Similarly, the assessment concludes that 2,556 households in the county live in substandard housing. Okay, you hear that, building department? 2,556 households in the county live in substandard housing. Again, households that have housing. They have housing. Okay, so it's almost like even if you have housing, you're not still in a good position. Maybe. These housing units help justify the need for housing rehabilitation programs that benefit low and moderate income households, if the money is allocated correctly. The assessment also concludes that 4,523 households are severely overcrowded. 4,523 households are severely overcrowded here in the county, here in Yonkers. That's households where you have 2 bedrooms and you have 7, 8, 9, 10 people. I grew up in a 3-bedroom tenement apartment and tenement building. 3 bedrooms. They were railroad style. Okay, and there were 6, 7 of us at one time. It was rough. 1 bathroom. It was rough. Data compiled under these 3 components of housing need document the county's existing housing stock with 1 or more problems as 75,271 units, approximately 22% of all the units in the county. So that's they compiled that data from assessing 75,271 of the units. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I'll read this here. Recommendations for, you know what? I'm going to actually give some more key findings. I want to give you some more key findings, some more assessment points. Okay, here. There are 345,885 housing units in Westchester. 81% of the housing units in the county were built before 1979. All right, so over 80% of the housing units here in the county are old, and they probably got asbestos and all kind of other health issues that we should be concerned, mold, and God knows what else. The city of Yonkers has the most housing units with 82,562. And if anyone cares about the village of Buchanan, it has the fewest with only 864. And we're talking about affordable housing units. 62% of the county units are ownerships, slightly lower than 63% of the national average. So 62% of the county's units, that are affordable housing are owned, right? So these are, individuals who have used programs and gotten assistance to purchase homes, or that there were homes that were sold specifically to people making within a certain income, so they can, progress into home ownership, right? It's a good thing. And you may hear some of these city council members talking about a pathway to home ownership, and I'll get into that in a little bit and tell you why, as much as that's a great idea, it's not realistic. There is a significant shortage of housing for extremely low income renters. There you go, Tasha. There's your point for you. People with disabilities, seniors, large families, and the homeless. So that's a point for everybody. And again, Tasha Diaz, the point of increasing the ordinance was to move in the right direction, take a step in the right direction. It wasn't to solve all the problems. And I don't think that you were very genuine. There are 89,839 people living in poverty in Westchester. That's 9.4% of the total population. The village of Sleepy Hollow has the greatest percentage increase in poverty, an increase of 12.4%. The village of Dobbs Ferry had the greatest decrease. I didn't know they had poverty in Dobbs Ferry. At 94% of the county's homeless family, almost 94% of and this is important, almost 94% of the county's homeless families were from the largest cities: Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, Peekskill, White Plains, and Yonkers. So 94% of the county's homeless families live in the 5 largest cities here in the county. And Yonkers is a part of that. And as some of you may know already, I go out there and I try to do what little I can, and I see the problem ever increasing. So I think we went through that statistic here, complete with acknowledging. Okay. I'm going to go and I want to talk about this here. Summary of the housing need in Westchester is not complete without acknowledging those who already reside in the county, but without a permanent home. So this is about the homeless, and it's very important. The homeless population are definitely in need. From the extensive analysis included in this assessment, the affordable housing needed to address the current number of homeless households is an additional 846 units. I thought that number was low. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't have all the, but it seems low. Finally, through the county's Home Seeker program, there are 15,264 households actively looking for affordable housing in Westchester County as of December 31st, 2018. So that means that these are individuals, these are households that were homeless at one point, and now they're actively seeking for an affordable housing situation, which is why it's important that we continue to increase the affordable housing stock. The remaining 6,334 households live in other counties of New York State and across the country. We'll read about that. Collectively, all these data sources tell us that the need for affordable housing in Westchester County totals 82,451 units. Wow, that's a lot. However, the greatest portion of these units are not substandard. So addressing the affordability of some portion of these units could be through rental assistance programs like the Federal Housing Choice Voucher Section 8. Section 8. So I want to talk about pathway to home ownership. We've heard this before. Councilman Rubio has mentioned it, several other council members, and the idea is to get folks from being renters and becoming homeowners. And that's a great idea. And purchasing a home statistically improves your chances of upward mobility, or increasing your upward mobility, and attaining financial freedom. As a home is an asset, and it appreciates, depending where you buy. If you buy right, it appreciates in value, earning you capital gains. So I want to talk about the pathway to home ownership, a little bit about the realities of it. The realities of it, of the homeowners, and what it would take to actually purchase a home here. Actually, you know what? No, this is not it. Actually, you know what? I want to talk about this. This is important here, really quick. What you're looking at here is this is for individuals who who rent. Okay, I'll read the top. Rent is for units targeted to households that earn up to 60% of the AMI, and the low home rent is for units targeted to households that earn no more than 50% of the AMI. So what you see here in the middle of the studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, this is what they should be at, right? So on the high end, and then we're talking about 60%, and this is what, when we're talking about affordable housing, those are individuals or low income housing who make under a certain percentage of the AMI. So for a studio, if you're making 60% of the AMI, you should be paying no more than $1,379. That's what they calculate what the cost you should be for your housing. It should not be more than that. Otherwise, you'll be in a cost burden situation. And if you move over, you can see 1 bedroom, $1,479, 2 bedroom, $1,777, 3 bedroom, $2,044, 4 bedroom, $2,660, and 5 bedroom, $2,776. Now, the problem is, where do you find those rent prices at? And now the low end, this is for those making under 50% of the AMI. Studio, $1,100. A 1 bedroom, just under $1,200. 2 bedroom, $1,400. 3 bedroom, $1,657. 4 bedroom, $1,848, and a 5 bedroom, $2,040. That's just below. I mean, where do you find an apartment? Where do you find a 5 bedroom apartment for $2,000? $2,000. So that was also part of the new ordinance. And what it would have done was readjusted, the percentages, calculated differently. So that way it could become more affordable, right? For individuals to help them more with, with the income requirements so they can be eligible and get more assistance. And I get, again, what Tasha Diaz was saying, that they need to increase also the vouchers that they give individuals, because the vouchers that are now being provided are just not enough. But again, it was a step in the right direction. And by not voting yes to veto or to override the mayor's veto, you stifled everything. You stifled it. You stifled any progress. Housing affordability. There are 2 types of housing tenure: home ownership and rental. A single family house may be used as a home by either the owner or rented to another household. This section provides an overview of the data and analysis for housing affordability by tenure. Okay. So home ownership. The median sale price for a home sold in Westchester County in 2018 was $650,000. $650,000. According to Hudson Gateway Multiple Listing Services. $650,000, over $500,000. The underwriting and analysis begins with the median household income of Westchester County, which is $89,968. A medium valued home of $650,000 would have an annual tax bill, and this is just approximately, for an example, of approximately $19,345. That's yearly tax. Yearly tax. Utilizing standard underwriting criteria, a home buyer would need an annual income of approximately $235,000 to purchase a $650,000 home. A household earning the median income of $89,968 has the financial capacity to purchase a home that costs $245,000, leaving a gap of $405,000. So based on the medium household income in Westchester County of $89,968, the reality is they would not be able to afford, that household could not afford the medium price of a home, the average price of the average home in Westchester County. They could only afford, maybe, and this is if they manage their money right, a home that costs no more than $245,000. But that's not feasible. That's just not feasible. According to the HGMLS, there were approximately 3,000 single-family homes active on the MLS in February 2019 here in Westchester, of which only 50 were priced at $245,000 or less. The availability of homes, which a household earning the median income can afford, is staggeringly low or below the demand. Here's the thing: that those 50 properties, right, that they're saying that were on the MLS, which is the listing, service that realtors use to see what's out there, were probably in need of severe rehabbing. They probably needed another $200,000 and $300,000 worth of rehabbing. Putting the true cost of that at anywhere between $400,000 and $500,000. Again, over the $245,000 price budget that one would have if you're making the medium income here in Westchester County. So how can someone afford a home? How can we help folks go from renting to becoming homeowners when they're struggling to rent? How? How is that possible? I don't see it. Household size percentage. In the cases where the AMI for Westchester County is lower in the following year, the county policy is to hold harmless any existing property with tenants. I don't want to read that. The AMI, blah, blah. So this is the AMI right here. So if you look at below, 2021 maximum income guidelines. Okay. So a family of 4, you hear it's 100%. Right here, you see the red 127. That is 100% of the Westchester County AMI. So if you're making 30% of that, you're making $26,000 if you're one person for one person. 2 people, 30%, 30,000, and so on. And you just go down 3. Look at how many people in your household. The AMI are published by HUD in accordance with federal guidelines, including the limits to be applied to multifamily tax subsidy projects and the home program. In 1999, Westchester County was designated by HUD to be an exception criteria community, which exempted the county's 80% AMI from being capped at the national average. Westchester County is allowed to use its true 80%. No, I got to highlight it. I have the highlighted one. So if you can look there, and again, this is all online, and I'll give you the address so you can read the entire assessment. It's very long actually, but it's very important. I think it's extremely important to look over. I have a lot of stuff here. No, I show this one. This is a cost burden chart here. Housing affordability, households at all income levels, renters and owners. Okay, renters. Here in Westchester County, you have 64,720 renters, 49%. Owners, 135,580 homeowners. And this is talking about affordable housing here. Combined, as you can see there, just do the math, that's 58% of the total. Unaffordable, cost burden, severely cost burden. So renters, there are 29,960 households that are living in unaffordable cost burden homes. Severely cost burden, 36,990. That's a severely cost burden. So a total of 131,670 households that are living. I'm sorry, for a total household that are living in affordable housing. Out of that 131,670, 29,000, just under 30,000 are on cost burden at some level of cost burden, but severely cost burden, you have 36,000. 36,000. Now owners, 135,580 affordable. They're doing it. They're affording it. But you have 39,000, just under 40 that really can't afford it and are struggling to pay. And then you have another 35,355 that are severely cost burdened. So what that means is that they're struggling to pay for the home they're in. Somehow they're making it work, but technically they shouldn't be making it work. They shouldn't be. So how are they making it work? How are they making it work? A lot of side hustles. Yeah, people have to do what they have to do to survive. Housing costs. Westchester County, again, we're going back to the AMI, uses the AMI standards to set eligibility requirements for its funding programs for both rental and ownership housing. Affordability is broadly defined as a household paying no more than 30% of their monthly gross income towards their housing cost. So, if they're paying more than 30% of their gross income, monthly income, then they can't afford it. They're in a cost burden situation, right? Like I just showed you in the chart before. 30% of total monthly gross income, the maximum that should be dedicated towards housing costs. So they say 30% should be the maximum that you dedicate towards housing costs. So how much do you make a month? Do you pay more than 30% of that for rent or for mortgage? If the answer is yes, then you are in a cost burden situation. The table below is intended to provide a quick estimate of affordability for a given household size at various income levels. Estimated monthly housing cost limits based on 30% of income. Based on 30% of income. Okay. That's what that is. So, family size, one person at 30% of the AMI should be paying no more than $670 a month. If they're making 30% of the Westchester County AMI, they should be paying no more than $670 a month. You can't rent a room for that much anymore. If you make 50% of the AMI, then you should not be paying more than $1,116. But let's go to families. So let's say a four-person household making 30% of the Westchester County AMI should not be paying more than $956 a month. $956 a month. For a family of four. That's crazy. So that would be 117. About 35,000, 36,000 a year for a family of four, a household of four, where the household income is 35,000 a year, should not be paying more than $956 a month. Wow. So the average Westchester household income is 89,000. 89,000. That's about about 70 something percent, 77%. So let's say just call it 80 of $2,550 a month. So if you're making that median income of Westchester, which is $89,990, I believe, and you have a family that's your household income, a family of four, if you're paying more than $2,550 a month for your rent or your mortgage, you're living in a cost burden situation. Yep. So in order to afford those nice luxury apartments over by the waterfront, you should be making over at least 117,000 or more. Or more. So that's what this chart is. So again, you can go on Westchester County website, the government website. They have the housing cost assessment or the housing needs assessment, and they have all this information there. It's great, a lot of great charts, and this kind of guides you. But you can see that we definitely have an issue. We absolutely have an issue here. And I'm going to give an example here. So for those talking about pathway to home ownership, right? The homeowner affordability is an example. A matrix above is underwritten with a 5% down payment from the buyer. The underwriting also includes a monthly cost of private mortgage insurance, PMI. What is a PMI? PMI is private mortgage insurance. A PMI is applied to your mortgage if you do not put at least 20% down payment. If you put less than 20% down, you are not eligible for a traditional mortgage, resulting in a PMI, which is calculated based on the amount you put down. That can add an extra $300, $400 a month on the mortgage, which I don't get, right? I don't get that. If the person cannot afford to put an entire 20%, why would you penalize them and add an extra $300, $400 to the mortgage? But that's what a PMI is, a private mortgage insurance that's applied to mortgages for individuals who did not put at least 20% down on the home that they're purchasing. So, which is a standard when the loan to value ratio is over 80%. Once the loan to value ratio falls below 80%, PMI is removed, right? So, like I said, the 20% add 20 to 80, that gives you 100%. So, if you don't put at least 20% down, and you're borrowing more than 80%, you're going to be hit with a PMI. The more traditional mortgage is underwritten with a 20% down payment. Like I mentioned, it is critical to understand that out-of-pocket cost to purchase a home is a barrier in itself. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. It's not just the down payment. People look at a home, you look at the price of a home, and let's say, hypothetically speaking, $100,000. Traditional mortgage, 20%, that's 20 grand you have to put down. Most people do not have that 20 grand. But let's be more realistic. Let's say, call it $500,000, right? That's more what you're going to find. 650 according to that assessment. That is $100,000 that a person would have to put down to take out a traditional mortgage and not get hit with the PMI, the private mortgage insurance, which would add an additional $200, $300, $400 to their mortgage, right? How many people have $100,000 for the down payment? I mean, it's just the reality. And if they do, that's probably their life savings. And people are scared to let go of that money. I had an aunt. She hoarded money. She kept it in the bank and she would say, I got this much. And I would say, do something with it. Because the longer it stays in the bank, the more money you're losing. It's devaluing. The dollar's losing value. You want to invest that money and put it into an asset that appreciates, like a home, right? A business, invested. But if you don't have a home yet, purchase a home. So how many people have 100,000? Now, most people do not. So they have to get a first-time homeowners or home buyers loan, FHA loan, which would allow you to put down 3.5%. However, you're going to be hit with that PMI. So again, even at 3.5%, we're talking what? 15 grand, more than 15 grand, right? So you're 20 grand. So, even people don't have that much, right? So to come up with that money, it's a lot for people. It's a barrier, what they say, a barrier to purchasing a home, to becoming a homeowner. But it's not just a down payment. I learned that very quickly when I bought my first home. I said, we got this. We could put the down payment, no problem. But then there's closing costs. You have to pay for an inspection to be done. You have to pay the title company. You have to pay I forget, the lawyers. You got to pay all kinds of people. You got to do all kinds of things. So it came out to more than what I calculated the down payment was going to be. Also, not just down payment, which it can be as low as 3.5% or 20%, or closing costs, but also a lot of banks want to see that you have money in the bank, in your bank account, so that you will be able to pay the mortgage at least 6 months to a year. So after you just put down, let's say 3.5, 3%, 15 grand at the low end, and then you got hit with another 20, 30 grand, let's say 20 grand of closing costs, you're at 30, 35, and now the bank says, hey, but you got to have at least, 40 grand in the bank. We want to make sure that you're going to be able to pay the mortgage and you're not going to default in 2 months, right? So these are barriers. That's a large sum of money. So we're talking about the low end. Even if you are using getting an FHA loan and they're going to do 3.5%, you still have to have, like, 100 grand in the bank. Then you go into the home. You're going to buy furniture. There's going to be things that you're going to have to fix. You're not going to like the color on the wall after a while. You want to change that. Yo, shit. Excuse my language. There's a leak in the roof. The septic tank is messing up now. So it's always a problem. And, you'll quickly realize that you become a homeowner that you'll be in Home Depot all the time. That's what happens. You'll be in Home Depot all the time. So that's so true. And I want to go back to that, but that's very true. It's not just the down payment, and that presents a barrier for people who are looking to purchase a home. So it's critical to understand that out-of-pocket cost to purchase a home is a barrier, again, in itself to home ownership, especially in high-priced communities, right? Where you have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year taxes. For example, the buyer of a medium price home of $650,000, so we're using that medium as an example, would need $130,000 at 20%. That would be just the down payment, $130,000. That's not including the closing costs and additional funds in the bank account. You don't want to leave yourself with nothing, right? For the down payment, if applying for a traditional loan. Additionally, the typical cost to close on a home in New York State is approximately 6% of the purchase price. 6%. So we're talking about another 39,000. I was going to say 36. Therefore, the buyer of a $650,000 home would need an additional 39,000 on top of the $130,000. So you're looking at 169. 169. The underwriting standard results is a total of 159,000. I'm sorry. Oh, wait, what did they add? 120 and 139. Thought it was 130 here. Messing up. They messed up the math here. So they would need 169,000 technically, not 159, needed to purchase a medium price home. Under the scenario of a 5% down mortgage, so this is if you're using an FHA loan for those who qualify for affordable housing or government programs. Under the scenario of a 5% down mortgage product, the buyer would need 32,000. 32,000 plus another 39,000 for closing costs, so at $71,000. So again, they talk about pathway to home ownership, but the reality is it's not a reality. It's just not a reality. It's not. And you have to question why they kind of present this idea that sounds great when the reality is that people are having trouble renting. People are living under cost burden situations, and you're talking about a pathway to home ownership. We need to be talking about increasing the ordinance. We need to be talking about developing more affordable housing units, and not just at the top of Elm Street, not just on Ashburton, and not just on Warburton. Spread them around. Put them on the waterfront also. Not just Lionsgate, Avalon. They're not the only ones that should be entitled to prime real estate there. The people that have been living here forever, who've been busting their ass, for the city, paying taxes, city tax, contributing, and not receiving nothing back. These developers are hiring labor from God knows where, getting tax breaks on property taxes. These new renters are coming in. They're going to increase the use of, again, all the Yonkers services, and are not going to provide more in property taxes. The developers are already getting property tax breaks. So how are they going to supplement that loss of tax revenue? Well, increase the taxes, more cost burden on already strained homeowners and renters, specifically those who need affordable housing and low income housing. So again, It was upsetting when Tasha Diaz made an about face. A lot of people were upset. People are still upset. I have asked her to come on the show. I wanted to pick her brain. I wanted to understand why, after all this time, she decided to go against the ordinance that she was so in favor for. I understood maybe some of the things she was saying. However, it was a step forward. It made no sense. It made no sense. You read it for a while. You said yes, you multiple times. You knew what was in there. You knew what was in there. And if you had an issue with that, it should have been from day one. And it looks like it's a game that you guys are playing. And there's a need. If you see this housing assessment, if you see what it says in the reports of families living in cost burden homes, barely able to afford their rent, living in homes that they cannot afford. So either they're behind on their rent or mortgage, they're taking out loans to pay for their living situations, or they're working side jobs off the books, or God knows what, to generate an additional income just to cover the cost of their living, because technically they cannot afford it. But they're making it work because they don't want to be on the street, right? And you let them down, Tasha. You let them down. As someone who lives in affordable housing yourself, you should have been a little more compassionate. Should have been a little bit more compassionate, you know? And it just seems like you guys are playing the game. And Rubo, that was the game. That was a game. Say yes during the elections because Carlos almost kicked your ass. He almost kicked your ass. And you were so scared that you had Mr. Morales, the freelance masseuse, challenge his signatures. Then you pay for his lawyers, his attorneys. So, it's a game that you guys are playing here with the people of Yonkers to make money. And it's not okay. And it's not okay. And I'm not looking to bring people down or expose corruption. I'm just saying that it's not okay. And there are people that are starting to see the game. They're starting to connect the dots. They're starting to see that this is all about enriching yourselves. What did you get? What did you get for that? What was in it for you? I wanted you to come on the show so we could talk, and you didn't respond. I saw you on election night. You didn't say hello. You said hello to everyone else. A lot of those rich guys were happy to see you. When you voted no to override that veto, as I mentioned in my letter to you on Facebook, you voted yes to override with the developers. But they're your buddies. It's obvious. It's obvious. I hope you read this Westchester County assessment, housing assessment 2021 is up there on their webpage, and understand the true needs of your constituents, because it's not those luxury apartments that you're supporting and you're helping push through. You guys are coming up for elections, and it's time that we vote for change. I think it's time we vote for change. I mean, we see what this is all about. I mean, you showed that the Yonkers City Council is worthless. You guys are worthless. I don't think the mayor's that good. 7-7 all the time. I don't think so. I don't think so. And you're there to be the checks and balances. You're there to assure that the people of Yonkers have adequate housing. And if they don't, you devise a plan and you focus on that plan. You don't focus on development. You talk about that developments are good. How so? How so? And good for who? And good for who? Tasha, you're more than welcome. to come on my show, the invitation will stand until you're not an elected official anymore. That could very well be happening soon. The game is over. Game is over.
Oh! No!
Game is over. Thank you for joining me. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tasha Diaz, the offer still stands. Come on the show. Talk to me. Why did you vote no to override the veto? We needed the housing. Yonkers needed it. All that performance was just show.
No!
It was just show.
Game over.
Thank you for joining me. Tune in next week as I bring you more Basement Politics interviews. I'll give you a list of folks I'm going to be speaking with next week. Be a little interesting. Has some cool people coming on. Join me. Thank you. Have a good night. Have a great week. Freddie Vasquez, Basement Politics. By the way, Councilwoman Tasha Diaz, I want to go over the really quick. This is the Jefferson Terrace apartment building, Section 8 project-based rental assistance. This is where the councilwoman lives. Since this property has a project-based Section 8 contract with HUD, some or all of the rents at this community are based on tenants' incomes. According to Yonkers' website, Tasha Diaz earns approximately just under $54,000 as a councilwoman. Tenants leasing units participating in the Section 8 project-based rental assistance program typically contribute less than 30% of their adjusted income towards rental costs. Low-income housing tax credit. Since this property has received funding in part through the low-income housing tax credit program, a certain number of units are set aside for lower-income households. Households must earn either less than 50 or 60% of the area median income, depending on the set-aside option chosen by the property owner. To qualify for these units, rents in these units are capped at the maximum of 30% of the set-aside area median income. Some rental units in this property may not be subject to the low-income housing tax credit and therefore have higher rents and no minimum household income requirement. Yonkers HUD rental assistance qualification. Generally, households earning up to the income limit in the table below for their household size are eligible for units participating in the HUD rental assistance programs in Yonkers, but actual income limits may differ for units at Jefferson Terrace. So, here you go. Here's the chart. How many people in your household? Are you looking to increase the vouchers for you? You sold this out. You sold this out. Come on my show and talk to me about why you sold this out.